University of Waterloo has several libraries that you're going to be encountering and using throughout your time here. The one that you're probably going to go to the most often as an engineering student is a Davis Center Library, or DC. However, if you find a good resource anywhere else, say the Dana Porter Library or the other libraries on campus, then it's always a good idea to just go and check them out. The reason we talk about Davis Center primarily is because that's where all the science and technology books are. However, if you're going to look for example, history of technology or the impact on society and the environment, then the Dana Porter Library might be a better choice. As with almost everything, you can search for stuff online at the library. So here I have the webpage open, and it's lib.uwaterloo.ca, and just sort of, if you don't really want to remember that, just Google UWaterloo Library and it'll find it for you. And if you're finding things in the library, the first thing I'm going to show you is something you're probably familiar with, which is just straight up searching. So let's say I'm looking for robots. Okay, so I type in robots, I hit enter in my search page here, and the way the library search works is that it tries to find you the most relevant things first. And if you want to find more, you're going to be able to. And for the most part, when people search the library, they look for books and media. And as a result, we have these 3 top books in media that they can find me. But also, it will show me the top articles as well. Now, these are peer-reviewed articles typically, coming from journals, potentially from magazines as well. It will depend entirely on what the library website believes is most relevant to you. And so for this one, for example, this one is titled Robots. It is on the journal Science, which is a very, very high quality journal. And there's a bunch of citation information as well. And if I want to access it, as you can imagine, I will just click on this, and then it's going to take me somewhere else, and it'll give me the option of, do I want the full text available? And I have multiple different ways of accessing that full text. And I'm not really going to open up something for you. I'm certain you can figure that one out on your own. Okay, so I'm going to go back. And now let's say, okay, well, I don't really know what these 3 things are, so what I want is to see everything. I want to see all the books and media. Well, lo and behold, you click on View All Books and Media. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And this was going to take me to this page here, and this is where it's somewhat important for you to understand how our library system works here at the University of Waterloo. Because we live in a city in which there's actually 2 universities, just down the road from us is Laurier, and only about maybe 30-minute drive away from us is Guelph, all 3 universities actually share their library resources. So for instance, let's take this one here, and it's called Robots by David Osborne, and it is available at the Wilfrid Laurier University bookshelves. Now, what if I want that book, right? If I really want to access it, I could actually put in a request. So if I type in locations and requests, what I can do is sign in to request it. And what that lets me do, it's going to open up a whole new window. I'm going to have to sign in. I'm not going to do that for you. But basically, you sign in, you request it, and it says, where do you want it delivered? Typically, it's to the Davis Center Library. It's just easier. And then what's going to happen is that the Wilfrid Laurier University will send that to us. It'll show up at the Davis Center, usually in 2 to 3 days. It's pretty quick. There's never been a time when I've been waiting for a long time to get this book, or whatever book it is. And then you get an email to your UWaterloo email account where you can then go and pick it up. And you just bring in your Watt card, which is your library card, and you take it out and you're good to go. So that's how your library will work. On the other hand, if there's something that is actually at the University of Waterloo Library, just go ahead and get it. So let's take a look. For example, we have one here which is online. Okay, so if you click on this one, Building Robots with Lego Mindstorms NXT, and I click on that, it's going to take me to its page. But if you look underneath it, it says Online Resource. And if I click on that, then again, it's going to actually just open up that online resource, the book and everything else. It's going to ask me to sign in. Sometimes we're going to be signing in using our UWaterloo accounts. It'll depend entirely on who publishes it. So I'm not going to go ahead and sign in here. Okay. Finally, let's take a look at this one. It says multiple versions or editions is found, Introduction to Autonomous Mobile Robots. So I'm going to click on that because I want to see where they are. And this one, it says it's at the University of Waterloo Library, UW, Davis, Bookstacks, and so on. And then this here is the call number, TJ211, and so forth. So just like in standard library stuff, There's the Dewey Decimal System. This is something a little bit different. It's a Library of Congress system, and it just allows for a lot more categories and a lot more fine grains if you want to search. So you go to the Davis Center though in this library, and you're going to see that the book stacks are actually just labeled. Each shelf is going to have, this is QA whatever to QB something or other, or TJ 200 to TJ 212 or whatever it is, and you just search for the book stacks. If you don't know where exactly it is, like especially in the Dana Porter Library, is something like 8 to 10 floors. Ask at the reception desk. There's always a reception desk. You can just ask, hey, I'm looking for this particular call number. Where is it? How do I get there? And that sort of thing. And you'll also find there's a really handy dandy where is it button. You click on that, and it actually will just show you. So this is the entrance to the Dana Porter Library, and it will show you where various things are. Now, it would be really nice if it sort of put this is where you're looking, but for some of them, it's not going to do that. Okay, going back again, I want to show you something else that the library can do for you, which is really neat. First of all, you'll notice this thing keeps popping up, Chat with the Library. Your library actually has a number of people who are there whose job is to help you find things, to compile a list of books and that sort of thing. And the first thing is, I'm not going to chat with someone, I'm not going to waste their time, but you could just say, hey, chat now, I'm looking for books about fuel cells, I don't know where to go, what do I do? And they'll ask you a bunch of questions, what's your faculty, and is it technical or that sort of thing, and they'll try to find you a list of books or at least connect you with someone who can help you. On the other hand, if you actually go into the library, and typically Davis Center for Engineering once again, then what you're going to find is that you can speak to a librarian, and again, their job is to help you do your research. So go and speak to them. They're here to help you, and they have a lot more knowledge about where different things are. So one of the major downsides to the Library of Congress system is there are so many different categories that sometimes things may be in different places. So for instance, information on fuel cells might be in chemical engineering, but it also might be in environmental engineering. And you might also find excellent references in electrochemistry and all that sort of stuff. And the librarian can really help you just narrow that down, find good books and everything else. The next thing I want to show you is that there's actually a bunch of research guides. So you'll see here, this is the top of the web page after a search. Let's go to the home page. I just want to show you how to get there. And on the quick link side, you see research guides and research and journal databases. We're going to look at the research guides. This is, we're going to actually end up using one for the research guide, so it's not going to matter. And it keeps on popping up, do I need help? Okay. So there are a number of different subjects for the research guides. And let's say, for example, fuel cell stuff might fall into chemical engineering, it might fall into chemistry. So I'm going to choose one of these two. I just want to show you some of the other ones that we have. We have computer science, so if you're looking for something about programming, electrical and computer engineering, you might come for that when you're doing your circuit stuff. And it goes on and on and on. Mechanical and mechatronics engineering, there's a bunch of research guides all over the place that you can use. But let's say we're looking for fuel cell things, which would be probably chemical engineering. And so I go to chemical engineering, and it says, hey, well, click on this one here, the engineering literature reports. Okay, so the first thing you're going to notice is that for a lot of these, there's a person you can contact, and this person here happens to be one of the librarians, and her subjects are chemical engineering, chemistry, nanotechnology engineering. So if you are looking for things for fuel cells, go ahead and contact that person, and you're free to, and you're sort of expected to. It's what the librarians are there for. But let's now say, okay, well, really I want articles, reports, and data. It's all here, so I'm going to click on that. And now it's going to give me a bunch of different options for where to search. These are all of those journal databases that they're talking about. A lot of them are great. Honestly, you're probably just going to end up Googling things first, and it's going to Google itself, not even through the library. But if you want a very specific, only search for journal articles, for example, you can use them. My personal favorite is actually Scopus, so I'm going to click on Scopus, and it will take me to Scopus itself. And realistically, what Scopus is a large search engine, essentially, for journal articles and all that sort of thing. So, okay, I don't really, thank you, Scopus, for saying hello. And what am I looking for here? So I have a search already. I'm looking for documents. and it says fuel cell and hydrogen. So I'm specifically looking for fuel cell that are powered by hydrogen, not methane fuel cells or whatever it is. So I want to make sure that and is there. And say, okay, well, what do you want to find? Do you want to find it in the title? Do you want to find it in the abstract or the keywords? I have a bunch of other options. Maybe you're looking for the title itself or the article title, whatever it is. Usually you're just going to go with this first one here, article title, abstract, and keywords. And if I run a search, and what I'm going to do, I'll go back and I'll show you the advanced options in a moment, but I'll run a search. And what it's going to come up with is a huge number of articles, and some of them are going to look a little weird. So let's look at how we can evaluate the, the prestige of a particular journal article. So it says, well, hey, what are the challenges and opportunities for using formate to store, transport, and use hydrogen? So this is a very advanced chemical engineering topic. It gives you the authors, and strangely enough, it gives you the year, which is 2020. So for those of you who aren't really sure how academic publishing works, it typically takes a long time, and you submit a journal article, and then it gets accepted, but then it might not be published for another 2 or 3 months, or 6 months even, depending on when the particular journal puts out a new edition. However, since everything is online nowadays, often we have early access, and that's what this 2020 article is you can access it, but the understanding is it hasn't been edited, it hasn't been prepared, and that sort of thing. And then you see this is a journal article, Journal of Energy Chemistry. It tells you exactly how to cite it, and then it says how many people have cited this article. The answer is 0, and that's because it literally just hasn't even come out yet. What's particularly cool about Scopus is you can really refine your results here. And so one thing that you might consider is only looking for open access. So this means that no matter what happens, you're going to be able to access it because the authors have given permission. If it isn't open access, then it's possible that the University of Waterloo doesn't have the license to view it. And so you might only be looking for open access. But that being said, we actually have a lot of journals that we can access, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. You can refine by year, and typically when you're doing a journal search, you want to search for the most recent years first. And the reason for that is because fields often change significantly over decades. And so if you're reading about, say, hydrogen fuel cell technology from 1960, you're not going to necessarily get the most modern treatment. So let's say, okay, I only really want 2019, that makes sense to me. Maybe I also want 2018, and I want to limit it to that. So I'm going to go ahead and click Limit To, and it sort of takes all those results and limits it, as you can imagine. And then I'm going to go down, and here what I want is document type. And it must specifically be an article. So this means a journal article, right? An article published in a peer-reviewed journal. I don't really want conference paper. I don't want anything else. So I'm going to go ahead and use that. And then there's actually a huge amount of other things that realistically you're probably never going to use. But if you click on, for example, publication stage, and you click on final, then this guarantees that it's not been, maybe it's not in the editing stage or whatever it is. That's when we saw those things from 2020. And we want something, a final journal article has been published, it is accessible and everything else, and we're guaranteeing ourselves that it exists. So I chose those things, I chose my years, and I'm going to limit it to what I've chosen. Okay. So this is how you're now going to guarantee yourself to find this peer-reviewed journal article, and again, that's only using Scopus. If I wanted to search Google, I'm free to, and all of that sort of thing. But what we need to also make sure when we're, say, just taking a random PDF off of Google is that it has some kind of prestige to it. And the huge benefit of Scopus is that it's going to make sure that you're only getting high-quality, peer-reviewed journal articles and that sort of thing. So that's your introduction to the library and what it can do for you. When you're doing your fuel cell assignment, what I would strongly recommend you do is get used to using the library early. It's going to be really handy for all 4 fuel cell reports, but also beyond your 1A term, it's going to be something that you're going to be able to access again and again. And sometimes your course just doesn't have the textbook that's sufficient for you for that one topic, and you can go to the library, or if you're doing a larger scale research project.